Ian or Connor, you can go ahead.
Hey, Jarron, I know this was your second game back after you were injured. On Saturday, your coach was kind of talking about how he thought you guys were, becoming a more well-rounded team, using some of that depth. I mean, how do you, I guess, kind of keep that goal in perspective, despite this loss tonight?
No, we had a tough night throughout the whole roster, and it was a tough game. No, they scouted well. They applied pressure full court. It was a tough game for us, and we know we learned from it. We were going through it with the refs a lot. We were focused on the refs, we're not focused on the game, and we gonna be okay. Game's over. Next game, we're focused on Ohio now.
And, I guess in the second half, they came out, you guys were up by one heading into halftime, and they really came out in the second half. I mean, where do you think that momentum kind of shifted en route to, with Miami eventually winning?
Can you repeat yourself again, please?
Yeah. So, with you guys being up, 1 point heading into halftime, and then with the Red Hawks, coming out a little stronger there in the second half, where do you think that momentum exactly shifted between the two sides in this game?
I would just say Miami played with a lot of energy, and just they were on it throughout the whole game, and we just didn't match their energy. They play harder, and always the harder player team always gonna win the game. So we just got to match their energy and play all 40 minutes with the same level of effort that we start with.
And then for me, can you kind of talk about there, like at the beginning of the second half? I know you guys kind of got into some foul trouble there. Can you kind of talk about maybe how that impacted you guys a little bit?
Yeah, we did. We did get into foul trouble. We already had men down, so men down on top of the foul trouble, we had to play a game we weren't used to playing. But at the end of the day, we gotta handle what we gotta play with what we have and adjust regardless of what we got to do in lineups. So I feel like we just got outplayed and out hustled, and that's all it was.
And then also another area was they had 25 points off of turnovers, and then you guys had 18 turnovers. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, and what you guys maybe need to clean up there?
Yeah, they did. They applied a lot of pressure. They did do well converting from offense to defense. I feel like with just how the refs was calling the game, me and my teammates, we couldn't be as aggressive as we wanted. And I mean, the refs isn't the reason for the L, but I just feel like they just back to the energy. They played with a lot more energy than we did, and it just affected the outcome to an L.
And then I know, you're just coming back. I mean, how are you feeling out there? Do you feel like you're still a little rusty? Do you think you're kind of picking back up? Can you kind of talk about, what's going on?
I mean, yeah, I'm a little rusty, yeah, but I'm just broke. I'm playing my game. I'm just gonna stay with what I know and just keep playing my team. They know they got faith in me, and I know I'm gonna make plays for my team. It's only my second game back, so it's all right. I mean, all I care about is winning, regardless of how I play. I can play terrible. As long as you win, I don't care. So all I care about is to win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jarron, just, as Ian and I believe Connor as well mentioned, this is your second game back. Just what was it like for you to have to sit for as long as you did this season and not be able to compete? I know you were working out and able to do a lot more than just sit on the sidelines during games. But what was it like for you to have to watch your teammates compete for as long as they had to without you?
Really depended on if we were winning or losing. But if we was losing, I just wanted to be out there. Regardless, I wanted to be out there with my team. But especially when we were losing, I just felt like I could help. But when my team was winning, I was just happy for them, and I always enjoyed the moments with them, and wanted them to just have fun. And I just wanted to help them do as much as I can off the court to help them win.
And Coach Whitford had mentioned that you were playing, as well as you ever maybe had. in September and October before you hurt your foot. I guess, did you feel that way as well? Did you feel you were really progressing as an athlete, as a player at Ball State before that injury occurred?
Yeah, I would say I was playing very well coming into the season, but I mean, I feel like I'm just gonna do what I know, what I did to get there, and just continue to work on my game. The more I play, the better it get. I just got cleared 2 weeks ago, so it's my first time. I've been running a lot, but I haven't been doing much basketball completely together. So the more I play, I feel like the game will come back to me. But I'm not really focused on myself or any individual stats. I'm just worried about the win, like I said earlier. So whatever I got to do to help win, that's all I care about.
One more for Jarron.
Yeah, I guess just last thing is while you weren't able to play, and you mentioned doing what you can to help this team win. I guess what ways were you trying to be a helpful influence on this team as you weren't able to actually be on the floor in the games? What ways did you maybe try to help this team, help guys like Ish or Luke or others, improve as they went along this season before you were cleared to play?
No, I was just trying to help all the young players, just fundamentals and gaps and just defense, and just always putting in my input for what I see on the bench, because you can't see everything off the court, and on the court, and just always giving my teammates hints and tips to do better or just to be a great player, and always try to encourage them and just make sure that they stay locked in and make sure that we get the win.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you.
Yep. We'll start with Coach Whitford's thoughts on the game, and then we'll take questions.
I thought, I thought it was a really physical, hard-fought game, and I thought we were rough around the edges on offense a lot, really in the second half, and if we would have defended to our ability, I still think we could have won the game, but I didn't think we were as good on either side of the ball, and Miami had a lot to do with that. Their pressure and their physicality bothered us for sure.
I know you guys had 18 turnovers, and they had 25 points off of turnovers. Jarron kind of talked about how they apply pressure defensively. What do you guys have to do better to counter that?
We have to handle it better for sure. I mean, it's twice that pressure has really bothered us. Indiana State, to me, being the other game. And I thought in the first half we handled it well. We shot 50% from the field. We were able to get into our stuff. Second half, it overwhelmed us. And we turned it over a little bit in the first half, but we shot 50% from the field, 50% from three. Second half, I thought we pressed way too much. Guys were trying really hard, just trying too hard. And so it took us. We need to be able to get more ball movement against teams that press us that way.
Yeah, and then I know there, especially in the beginning of the second half, foul trouble kind of became a little bit of an issue. I know they got to the free throw line a lot. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, and maybe what needs to be better there?
I'm sorry. Well, it's loud in here. So the question was what?
No, you're good. I was just saying, there, especially in the beginning of the second half, foul trouble became a little bit of a thing there for you guys. Can you kind of talk about that? They got to the free throw line a lot as well. Can you kind of talk about what maybe needs to be a little bit better there?
That was a huge difference. That to me, I thought that was the difference in the game, is their ability to draw hand checks on us and our inability to draw hand checks on them was a huge, very impactful part of the game, and now that, to me, that's the story of the game, is their ability to draw hand checks on us and get to the foul line.
And then also, last one for me, can you kind of talk about the progress you've seen from Jarron? Can you kind of talk about the progress you've seen from Jarron, and what you've seen from him there?
Well, Jarron's got a ways to go. He knows it as much as anyone. I just told him in the locker room, like, hey, look, we believe in you at a high level. Your teammates believe in you. You're a really good player. But it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to have to earn it, you know. You're going to have to get it back piece by piece. But he's not, you know, you can see everything for him right now. It's just a little slow. It's going to take a little bit of time. But he's a really good player, and it'll come for him. And when it does, we'll be a lot better.
Thank you.
Coach, with you guys being up by 1 point heading into halftime, and then with Miami ultimately applying a little more pressure, and with them ultimately getting that win, where exactly do you think that momentum shifted, in the second half, and how?
Well, I thought it started to shift in the first half. I mean, we were up, I don't know what it was, 7 or 8 or 9, and they were able to cut it to 1 by half, and I think even took the lead, if I remember right, at some point in the first half. But I thought it started there, and then they were able to carry it over in the first 4 minutes of the second half. I think they won the first 4 minutes 9-5 or something like that. And there was the difference was their pressure and turning us over. Certainly what bothered us.
On Saturday after beating Northern Illinois, you kind of talked about how, you were seeing some more guys from the bench and, with this team getting more depth and being a little more well-rounded. I mean, how do you still try to, focus on that goal, and how do you put this loss in perspective, with ultimately reaching that point?
Yeah, we'll put it in perspective. I mean, it's obviously every game matters, in trying to win a championship, but nothing changes for us in that, we have to kind of reorganize our team here a little bit, and you got to get Boogie back in rhythm and in shape and able to contribute. And we got to, we have to work closer to being healthy and being the team that we want to be. And we need a few weeks to kind of form our chemistry and really get our I's dotted and T's crossed with this group. And then be at our very best in February and March. That's been our goal all year long.
And then my last question is, despite the loss, it looks like you guys shot 19 for 19 from the charity stripe. The free throw shooting, did that encourage you at all? And, is that something that maybe you look to build on, these next few weeks?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Usually when you see that, it has a lot to do with who got fouled. And I think that's what you saw tonight. I mean, the guys that shot the free throws were KJ, Luke, Mumbolo-ish. And when those guys are shooting them, we're going to make a lot of them.
Hey, James, I know you said after the last game that Blake and Ben were both going to play a good amount of minutes. It wasn't like you were going to favor one over the other. But with Brocken still out, as he was tonight, or I guess correct me if I'm wrong, if he was available and you all just didn't play him, but with him not playing tonight and those two being those two focal points, I guess, is there more of a reason why you're playing them basically as even as you are? Do you feel like there's a benefit to playing them that evenly that maybe puts some pressure on the opponent? I guess is there any sort of thought process in that?
It's a good question. I mean, they offer a very different set of, I would view them as both being guys that can contribute and help us, and yet they have very different strengths. Blake's greatest strength for us is defensively, and he's getting better on offense, catching and finishing. And Ben Hendricks is usually the guy for us that is a guy that, he's shooting 75, 80% in games, and he does the same in practice. He's a great finisher, but he's not as strong defensively. And we usually we got to keep him fresh. Neither of those guys is. Ben in particular, he's not in shape to play those kind of minutes. And then secondly, it's just situational. Some games we want Ben's rolling and catching and finishing and more, and some games you want Blake's defense and physicality more. It varies a little each game.
So is Brocken, I guess, is that just still the same thing, just day to day, just wasn't able to go? Did it get more serious?
We thought he would be ready. I thought he was going to be ready to practice Sunday, but it's just his back is taking a few days longer than we expected, but it's still day to day.
And then also, I believe, if my rough math is right, you all played twice as many games away from home as you have at Worthen Arena. Obviously, as you can look behind you, there are fan cutouts, so it's not the same sort of road environment as maybe you all would have played in the past, and it's not the same home environment either. But is there any sort of, wear and tear for playing this many games on the road this early? Is there any sort of significance to that, or is it just, that's just how the schedule laid out?
I think it's relevant playing on the road, and we're about to be 6 of our first 8 on the league, but it's going to even out, you know. I mean, and it does have a wearing out, you know, you're traveling a lot and all that, but it evens out over the course of the year. So when you go through your road stretch, it's a little harder. When you get your home stretch, it's a little easier, and it's all part of it. It's just a matter of when you hit yours. So we're in ours now, and that's fine. And would have liked to get this one, but it'll even out. We have a stretch in February where we lost one home game that hurt us a little bit, you know, and that the Western game got canceled. I wish they would have canceled the at Buffalo game.
Of course. And you mentioned the phrase piece by piece with Jarron as he works his way back to, you know, what he's potentially capable of. I guess, what does that look like to you as he's working back piece by piece? I guess, what are those pieces, and just when do you feel like he might be able to get those?
I think he'll just, it's hard for me to say exactly, but it'll be a little bit better every game. And, you know, he's a playmaker that can get shots for other people. He had 3 assists tonight. And, but when he's at his best, he's someone that can really get downhill and get assists. And he wasn't, you know, I thought their full court pressure really bothered him. We actually started playing him at the 2 some. And he's got to get some of his quickness back, which he'll get, you know, with time.
And he played 19 minutes tonight against Miami. Just, was that another minutes restriction? Is that just sort of the next tier that he had reached?
Yeah, that's right.
I guess, what does it look like maybe moving forward? I guess you're not going to tell us your game plan, but
it's going to be depending on how he feels tomorrow and all that. But it'll creep up. You know, I don't know where it'll go, but it's up to the medical staff, and that'll be based on how he feels, how he responds, and I don't think he'll be on a minute restriction for more than another week and a half at the most.
And then also, just how did you see him deal with just not being able to play? Obviously, you all had some great stretches and some tougher stretches so far this season before he was able to actually be on the floor in a live game. How did you see him deal with just having to sit or I guess stand at points, you know, on the sideline and not be able to actually contribute on the floor live in a game?
He did a good job of emotionally staying engaged with the team, his teammates. You know, he was very loud at every game, every practice. He tried to look at the game as a coach, and I think he tried to grow mentally for sure. And he did a lot of conditioning, really worked on we had a very aggressive plan to allow him to come back and stay healthy. And so he was doing a lot every day. And it was put together by a medical team and strength and conditioning staff to allow to really stress his body as much as he could while he was sitting out. And he followed that and did a lot of it. So he did his part, you know, he's going to have to go through the stretch.
And then last question, you mentioned how aggressively he was working at it. Just how much really was he doing as he wasn't able to actually, you know, maybe, you know, fully practice with you all, and then also just considering, you know, the pandemic, just how much tougher was that recovery process considering that had to happen amid all the protocols that you all have to deal with on a daily basis?
I don't think the pandemic had much to do with it, but he was doing a lot. Like every day, he would have had extensive cardio every day. He would have had some type of weightlifting every day, and then it really, for the last, I don't have to go back 3.5 weeks, he was doing some skill work every day too, and it was a real progression where each week was more than the last week. And there's a golden rule in rehab like that, is you never go from 0 to 100. So our job was, while he was out, was to get him up the ladder so that when he was cleared, you could just kind of keep going up tiers and not make it feel like for his body there's a huge jump. You know, it's very different than basketball because you can see his decision making. You can't simulate that stuff, and we couldn't. The only thing you can simulate is the stress